Thank you, Maureen. Beyonce, LeBron, Hillary, Homer. Tonight, we usher another celebrity into the pantheon of the mononamed. She is simply and inimitably Barbara. Barbara's the epitome of a YSU success story. Her academic career is highly distinguished. She was elected English department chair 4 times, and during her tenure, the English department was called by Provost Quasha the flagship of the university. She was dean of the university's largest college, where she wrote grants of almost $4 million. And I might add that some of those grants, some of those dollars were poetry dollars, which have like a 1 to 17 exchange rate. She was 4 times named a distinguished professor and 5 times a Watson Fellow. A prolific scholar, Barbara produced 31 publications, 13 reviews, and 7 papers on feminism, British literature, travel literature, and also involved many junior faculty in her research. And unsurprisingly, Barbara is still deeply involved in worthy causes. The League of Women Voters, the YWCA's Capital Campaign, the AAUW, the Poetry Center Outreach Program, and the Dr. Brothers and Murphy Fund all benefit from Barbara's continued support. Barbara's hard work, says Nancy Brown, is legendary. But all these impressive laurels don't tell the whole story. To her colleagues around the country, to the YSU faculty that she led, to the students she mentored, Barbara was a source of boundless energy, an incisive wit, with a generous host with a world-class laugh that could dispel dread at 50 paces. And if that wasn't enough, she has a fantastic husband. Talking to friends about this wonderful occasion tonight, Kelly Bancroft, who first met Barbara as a freshman, spoke for so many students, saying she had never met such a dynamic teacher. Kelly credits Barbara with inspiring her writing and teaching. To me, Barbara taught that leadership is not a matter of scale. It's about seeing the small and the big picture. For all her labors in the world, I'm most moved by her devotion to her own department, her English department, and it was hers. Flagship indeed. Her pennant flies on the top mast. English department, it reads. No, not really. English, our greatest writers, Yeats, Joyce, and Shakespeare, were all Irish. Department? No, sounds heavy, earthbound. Barbara taught us that we are dream purveyors, chroniclers of all that never happened, or better, the true stem of imagination. And she planted that stem in the hearts of all of us imaginers, providing a scope for our odysseys and a whiskey for our homecoming. Here's a scene I don't have to imagine. One English department meeting some time ago, as we thought about the past and mulled the future, eminent poet William Greenway asked, how many people here were brought to YSU by Barbara? And the hands of all the senior faculty went up, the chief minions of imagining. We came because Barbara brought us, and we stayed because she created and sustained a place beyond any department, a home for imaginers across 3 generations. So we raise our hands and our glasses now, beneficiaries of her legacy, to welcome home our leader, friend, and dean, our chief imaginer, Dr. Barbara Brothers.
Well, in spite of what because I knew there's no way you can follow that active. So I am really at a loss. I do want to particularly take this occasion, though, to thank the leadership, the faculty, the staff. There are still actually people here that I actually worked with when I was here. This university has been a part of me since 1956 when I came here as an undergraduate, and it has continued to be. It is a very, very important part of our community and larger community in the people that this university serves. And I do want to reflect on that. It is not only the faculty and the staff and the leadership of this university, but I also do have to take this occasion to thank my parents and family for bringing me up in a home in which education was paramount. I had music lessons and dance lessons when my mother had to make my clothes, and my father had a garden besides working in the steel mill in order for us to get by. You had those things because it was education that was important. When it came to graduating from high school, as some of you might know, in that dark era called 1955, it wasn't always typical for women to go to college. But there was no question in our family that that's what you would do, is go to college. And you didn't go to college as a woman in 1955 for a career. You went for an education. You went because, well, maybe if something happened to the breadwinner, you could fill in. And in fact, I had probably been teaching, well, I know for a fact I'd been teaching at the university for 20 years. And I was then married to my husband, Larry Haynes, when I was on a search committee for filling a top-level position. And I looked at him and I said, you know, these people really think they have a career. You can see them make the right moves. They're here for so many years, because that's what you do in administration. You move here, there, the next place, on up the ladder. And in fact, there are people like Neil Humphrey and that work, and lots of job offers elsewhere. But this place is a part of me, and it is the one place that has enabled me to be a mother, grandmother, and have close friends. So the ties here go deep. Nothing that I was offered could offer what YSU did. And I have to say, the culmination for me was getting a chance to be dean. And what was so exciting about dean was that I was again learning and being educated. I got to know faculty so much better and their problems as disciplines across the spectrum. And of course, the college doesn't exist anymore. Most of it got taken away when they combined it with the STEM. You got the biggest hat from me. I would also say you got the best hat from us. That's all right. But I do want to come back to that again, and the importance of education, broadly defined, of learning, and particularly to the mission of this university. There is a great deal of pressure to turn public education into elitist education, to provide it on the basis that you pass a test and you do well. And how do they do this? Well, in higher education, they do it by changing the funding model. So that students such as those that I knew in my class, and by the way, I'm so old that Chris Comfortcoff was a student in my class, and she's getting 40 years service. And my who was retiring is also a former student of mine. But this university, in my classroom, throughout the years, I've had son-in-laws with their mother-in-laws in the same classroom. The variety of ages, of people coming back, of people, the steel mills. When the steel mill was closed, I can tell you teachers that we turned steel people into teachers that went out into local schools. We have had those ties with the community. We have served that group. They don't necessarily graduate in 6 years. There are those who come here who don't necessarily graduate in 6 years because they are already working. So that the funding model itself, along with decreased funding, is putting the pressure on universities like Youngstown State, public universities, in ways that are really threatening the whole kind of idea that we had in this nation once about public education, which goes clear back through K through 12. It is my passion still, education, and I would suggest to all of you that you need to become better informed about what are the pressures on public education. The kind of thing that's involved with high stakes testing, where a test on a particular day determines whether or not you can go to the university, whether you can get a license as a teacher. I never took a high stakes test. I never took a high stakes test. If you don't know what they are and what they mean, you ought to learn about it. We have always prided ourselves as a nation that we were, quote, had a forgiving education system. That is, some of the students that I knew, that they might have flunked out or they didn't do very well. I can name names. Some of them went on to get a PhD. We welcomed those students that didn't know what they wanted to do. Nor did you necessarily consider that the only purpose of an education was career and college. Call your state board of education and see what they say. College and career. That's the only thing that people emphasize today. It is extremely short-sighted for this nation, which has said that it contributes to citizenship, to the development of the person and the things they love. Of course, I taught a useless subject called literature, as Bill said. But through literature, I learned, and it wasn't called reading either, which is now what it's called, literature, through which I learned about other people. I learned how to walk in somebody else's shoes. It is a valuable contribution to what makes us human. And I urge all of you on this occasion that are involved with this university and care about what this university stands for, as well as other universities and the public schools, to please do and belong to your community and take a look at what is happening so that the values that you have can indeed be passed on to our children and the grandchildren. Several of mine are here this evening. So I thank you very, very much for this award. It does mean a great deal to me. I joined some other friends on that, good friends on that list, and I welcome all of you, and God bless YSU.